Hello folks, you have made it halfway through the week. I sincerely hope you are having a good one. We are going to do some Hobby Nightmares right now, but please continue supporting Composite Games. They are, helping me out so much with the channel. I'm hoping to get down there this July to do a bit of gaming. Hopefully to meet a few of you as well. But if you like what I do, then subscribe to the channel, and Patreon is also down below. Every little bit helps, of course. And if you want to become a member of the channel, that's also just grand. In terms of Composite Games, they do give you 5% discount if you use the promo code Northern Exile at checkout, and they already give you 20% discount, so you may be getting 25% off your order when you order from Composite Games using my promo code down below. Can't say fairer than that, as I always say. I'm just about to get my second big order from Composite Games, so that's also brilliant. If you want to be entered into the prize draw, which is this Friday, it is in 3 days, then make sure you are either a part of the Patreon or a channel member. I can announce that the prize fund has jumped from £30 to £60. That is £60 in terms of our lovely bit of sponsorship dealing. So we have one of our illustrious, wonderful people by the name of Sarah has gotten in touch with me and has basically offered to give another £30 to the prize draw. So thank you very, very, very much, Sarah. I won't use the second name so people don't dox you or anything. Not that my community would, but you know what I mean. So thank you very, very much for that prize draw now. I'm undecided. If we get a lot more numbers, I'll make it 2 prizes of £30, you know. But if we get a small amount of numbers, then I may just do the £60. We'll see. I'm not decided yet, but I will be using it to pay back into the channel. You guys will be getting that in terms of your prize, money, and that goes towards models from Composite Games. So, if you win, let me know, and even if you live in the United States, I will ship it out to you. And finally, just so you can have a little gander here. More people have joined the Astral Backers. Thank you very, very, very much, guys, for joining the Astral Backers. It really does help me out on the channel and everything like that. Love you all long time. So, let's get into some Hobby Nightmares, shall we, before I go anywhere else. So, we have 4 today. 4 stories, and only 2 of which I've read beforehand. I've just checked to make sure that they were well written, basically, before I went anywhere else. And without further ado, let's jump into it. And for the rest of the weekend, by the way, or the rest of the week, we will be doing a unpopular opinions video on Thursday, because I've gone over that a few times when I've given my unpopular opinions on things like Dark Souls and things like that. So yeah, you'll be doing your 40k unpopular opinions. That will be on Thursday, and then on Friday we'll be doing more Hobby Nightmares. We've got a few doozies towards the weekend, as we always do, to try and round out the week. So, Captain Weekend says, on the subject of weekends, he says, "Hi Northern, I'm a big fan of your Hobby Nightmares videos. Listening to them at work really helps me through the week." No problem, man. Thank you very much. "So, after listening for a while, I thought it was about time I contributed some stories of my own. Although these might be more bitching than actual nightmares, but I'll let you be the judge. First story is about a Crusade game of Warhammer 40,000 I had with one of my friends. This game was one of the later games in the campaign when we had both gotten a few games in against each other, and the campaign was made up of us two and a couple of other friends. I used to love campaigns back in the day. It used to be one of the main things I used to like to do. I used to really like writing background lore and things like that for campaigns. Super awesome. One of the best ideas GW ever had was doing campaigns. Anyway, my friend, who I'll call Mark, name changed to protect his identity, he was playing his Thousand Sons, whilst I was playing my Sisters of Battle. The mission we were doing was quite a fluffy one. His warlord was attempting to complete a psychic ritual, whilst my forces were attempting to stop it. Turn 1, my Celestian Sacrosancts did a ballsy charge into a unit of Warp Flamer Rubrics, and on the Overwatch managed to fail 10 out of 15 saves. Ouch. Wiping the unit. Hate it when that happens with Flamers. This was early enough into the game that I could have reasonably asked to ignore that and just refund his command point and not charge the unit, since losing an expensive elite unit like that put me on a serious back foot for the whole game. However, not wanting to metagame, I decided I would just roll with it. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, man, you elected to make that decision to charge in, and I think that's fair enough. As you just said, you know, it's fair enough. You made that decision. It is what it is. Fast forward to the final turn, and we're both down to barely a few units each. He has his Warlord, who is down to a single wound, a unit of Rubric Marines, and a Sorcerer. I'm down to a few squads with a single sister each, and my Warlord. So it looks like you've had a close game then, so you made the right choice to not metagame. He had developed a healthy lead in victory points. However, if I could take down his Warlord, it could have potentially swung the game back. Maybe not giving me the victory, but at least making it close. Unfortunately, my Canoness is too far from his Exalted Sorcerer to end with an epic hand-to-hand duel. However, my lone sister with the Flamer could run from a centre objective and make a last-ditch effort to take out his Warlord, who was not benefiting from any character protection. I made my intentions clear to my opponent at the start of my turn, telling him exactly what I was going to do, and Mark didn't say anything. I remember as I was moving this sister into position, getting enough to advance to get the Flamer into range, that both me and my friend, who was spectating, were quite excited to see if the little Flamer that would get the better of the Exalted Sorcerer. Mark remained silent and just fidgeted with his data cards. It comes round to the shooting phase, and I declare that the sister is going to unleash the Flamer on his Warlord, only for Mark to use a stratagem that made his Warlord untargetable. Both me and my spectating friend just fell silent, and it was like you could just feel the mood drop. Yeah, let me just stop the I'm going to stop there just for a second. I'm going to carry on reading this in a second. This is why I hate stratagems. This is why. Your friend could easily have stopped you there and said, look, I've got a stratagem that stops that. And you could talk it out between you and say, hey, maybe for the epicness of the game, I'll elect not to use this stratagem, you know, and that's fine. Or, no, man, I'm going to use the stratagem, so please don't do that, because, you know, I would use this and it'd be pretty lame, a lame way to end the game. It gives players like this gotchas, and I hate it. I really, really, really hate it. There's nothing more irritating. Also, stratagems that let you interrupt somebody else's turn. It's my turn. Go fuck yourself. Like, the amount of times I've been in a game in 9th edition, and, you know, I've sat there patiently, not used any stratagems, because I don't want to be rude, because it's a friendly game, and I've let my opponent have, like, a 30-minute turn, whatever he's doing, because he's got so many fucking models, or shooting, or whatever, he's got, whatever, you know, psychic, whatever he's got going on. And I let him have his turn, and then I have my turn, and they feel the need to constantly interrupt it with these stupid stratagems that just grind the game to a halt. It's almost like it's a war of attrition. It's like a game of passive-aggressive, here is my next stratagem, here is my next stratagem, you can't do this because of this, you can't do this because of this stratagem, you can't do this because of that stratagem. I hate it. It ruins the flow of the game. It's unsporting. And it's not gentlemanly. It just isn't. You're there to play a game in good faith. And for me, a lot of these stratagems are shit. They're just shit. They're just there to bog down the game. And they're, aha, you can't do that thing that you were thinking of doing for the past 2 turns. That was going to be really epic. Because I knew I could stop it by doing this. Bang. So your past 2 hours has been fucking wasted. Brilliant. Pack up your models. Off you go. I hate stratagems. They shouldn't be in the game. You know, if you're going to have stratagems, I'll die on this hill too. If you're going to have stratagems, have each and every single army in the game, and I mean faction, you know, so Space Marines, you know, whatever, Tyranids, White Scars, whatever. You have 3 stratagems. That's it. You have 1 army tactic that allows you to do a certain thing, right? And you have 3 stratagems, 2 or 3. That's all you can do. Because I play White Scars list, right? So even though I'm Dark Angel's successors, I play White Scars rules because I love the speed. And I love the fact that because you're playing White Scars on, you're not using bikes, people aren't ready for multiple Blade Guard running around the battlefield. It's really, really, really funny. So, in terms of stratagems, for me, I use 2 or 3 because I don't want to slow down the game. It's rude. It's rude. And it's lame. It's just lame, right? And I tell my opponent what those stratagems are at the start of the game. here are the stratagems, there you go. And I will be using them all the way through the game. Here are my psychic powers, and I will be using them throughout the game. Off we go. And do you know what? I hardly lose a game. I do lose. I think I lose like 1 in 5. Because I just know my army really, really, really well. You can win games easily without using all these bullshit stratagems. It's dead easy, right? I just do not understand it. It's catering to the worst sections of the hobby. And I just don't like them. I really don't. Now, for me, the way that I would word this is that if I brought out the next Tyranid Codex, I would have every single Hive fleet has its own special rule, right? So you get to select which Hive fleet you're from, and there will be rules in there for making your own Hive fleet, and you can mix and match a rule together to make your own Hive fleet special rule, right? It could be like you re-roll charges, or it could be you're immune to certain morale effects, or it could be whatever it is, right? That's what your army gets. And on top of that, you get your 3 stratagems that are for all Tyranids. No problem. Bog standard, done. Like, so White Scars, it would be, you get to run for free, no matter what unit it is, you get to run for free, and then charge after you've run. Brilliant. Okay, that's your chapter tactic, and now you have 2 or 3 stratagems to use during the game. No problem. Not a lot to remember. Brilliant. And you can have some really interesting tactical matchups using those stratagems. Let's not forget, we had this hobby for decades without stratagems, so it's not like taking them away will harm the game. It won't. It'll speed it up, and it'll take shit like this out of the game. That really annoys me. Anyway. So, back to Captain Weekend's story. He says, I just, and I quote, I just read the data card, sighed, and said something like, yeah, alright, I don't see why we don't just do match play if you're going to play like that, though. And you're completely right, mate. You're completely right. This is the narrative game. Fuck this guy, right? In brackets, so what Captain Weekend says, yeah, alright, mate, I don't see why we don't just play match play then if you're going to play that way, though. Yeah, and he's completely right. This is because he was the one who suggested doing a Crusade in the first place, since he claimed he didn't like playing competitively and wanted a more narrative-focused experience. Yes, until he's losing. And then, or until he stands a chance of losing, then, the tables turn, don't they? I was also especially annoyed with him, as I'd been clear with my intentions from the start, yet he chose to hide his stratagem, which stopped me from doing anything different, and was, in my opinion, quite unsportsmanlike. It's not quite, it's extremely unsportsmanlike. Yes. He knew what you were doing, and he let you do it to waste your turn, because he wanted to win. This is bullshit, and I've played people like this before, and they make my teeth itch. It's just... I also felt, considering I'd given up a competitive edge early in the game, that he could have at least done the same for me, as it's unlikely the Flamer would have gotten through his 2+ save anyway, and he could have used the command point for a reroll instead, rather than just outright denying it happening. Yeah, guys, like, people are going to say to me, well, he can play the game how he wants. Dude, this is a narrative game. He spoiled the game. For me, this would spoil the game. I'd be like, yeah, okay, well, fuck this guy. I'm not playing him. Like from after this game, because you said you wanted a narrative game until there's even a 1 in 10 chance that you're going to lose, and then you start pulling out all these cards that just ruin the game for everybody else and the people watching too. So go fuck yourself. Like, I'll just, this is not the kind of person I'd want to play again, honestly. If this was a match play game, have at it, dude, fine. The stratagems are in the game. That is what it is. I wouldn't bother me at all. Fine. I'd think it's quite unsportsmanlike that you've let me do my entire turn and then done a gotcha, because I hate that kind of shit. Because I think it's just a cowardly way of playing the game. We're not playing fucking backgammon or Monopoly. You know what I mean? We're playing a war game. It's supposed to look epic on the tabletop. Just denying shit from happening sucks. Just sucks, right? But for a narrative game, I'd be like, yeah, all right, well, I'm conceding then, because since you're going to be that gamey, I'm going to concede and be gamey too, because I can't be arsed wasting my time with this anymore. I'd be that annoyed, honestly. With somebody did this to me when I was doing a narrative game. Nah, man. How bullshit is that? Anyway. So, where was I? Yeah. The game ended soon after, with not much left for him to mop up. I still play with this friend and don't think he's a bad guy, but I can't say I wasn't at least a little bit disappointed in him after that match. I also got my own back a bit with a post-game narrative write-up, as his Warlord Psychic Ritual was a success. However, the resulting aftermath caused a massive sandstorm which caused the Hablock to collapse, and all his cultists fell to their deaths. We've since decided to put the Crusade campaign on break, and have just been having a blast with Cursed City. Fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough, you're a bigger man than I am. That would really annoy me. So, and you can call me a sore loser if you want, but like, if somebody's gone out and they've suggested a narrative game, and then they pull shit like that, it just puts a really bad taste in my mouth. Anyway, Captain Weekend's second story. He says, the second story happened a bit more recently, and is also one I'd appreciate a bit of advice about. Being lucky enough to live near a Warhammer store that still hosts games, I decided to join in with their Age of Sigmar Path to Glory campaign. I chose to enter in with my Hedonites of Slaanesh, and I had painted them nearly a year prior, but due to my friend's lack of interest in playing Age of Sigmar, I hadn't gotten a chance to use most of the models. After watching Hey Woe's AOS faction rundown video, I understood they were a bit of an underdog, but I wasn't going to let that deter me since I was happy to just get some games in with them. I built a basic list of only mortals and had my first game. The first game I did against the manager, as they hadn't been able to match me with anyone, he took an army of Slaves to Darkness, a Chaos Lord, a Sorcerer, 5 Knights, 5 Chosen, and 10 Warriors. Can I just, as Northern Exile, commend this manager for playing games in his store? Well done. I had my Lord of Pain, 10 Bliss Arb Archers, 5 Twin Souls, 5 Slick Blade Seekers. Okay, cool. The game started with my Slick Blades making a mad dash into his Chaos Warriors, and although wounding on almost every attack, their glaives plinked off of their shields were like toothpicks. I proceeded to spend the rest of the game learning just how quickly Slaanesh units fold due to not having that great armor saves. And although I was not victorious, it was a great learning experience and a lot of fun. The manager also admitted to me that the way he played his slaves was a bit dickish, as he was able to summon several units of Marauder Horsemen, which really flips low point games. Dude, these people, man. These fucking people. I just finished giving this guy a compliment about playing games in the store. Somebody just started Age of Sigmar and you pull shit like that. Get out. Get in the fucking sea. For context, certain games in Age of Sigmar, like Slaanesh, can summon units in for free. However, this is often represented in the army's overall points cost, as usually a summoning army's units will cost more compared to other armies. For instance, although fairly similar in stats, a unit of 5 Twin Souls costs nearly the same as 10 Chaos Warriors. So, armies that can summon aren't costed around summoning, but are extra powerful. So armies that can summon, but aren't costed around summoning, are extra powerful. Yeah, because they're getting shit for free, basically. The manager also said, as he wasn't formally taking part in the campaign, he did not mind me getting the benefits of the victory in the Path to Glory campaign. Well, that's good of him. Still wasted your time, though. But then again, you did learn a bit, didn't you? So there's that. The next week, I managed to get 3 games in one day. The first, a rematch against the manager. Things go slightly better with a more objective-focused mission, and me having my faction terrain. And the end result was a close game, rather than a crushing defeat. The second game was against Nighthaunt, and was my first, and so far only, victory in the campaign. Something I feel extra good about since Nighthaunt have a 3rd edition Battletome, while Slaanesh is still on the 2nd edition Battletome version. The third game was against Maggotkin of Nurgle, and whilst it was not a good matchup for my army, the game was still a lot of fun, as the guy was really into his army and would give vivid details about every action his units took. I love that, it's great. Like, I got to listen about how his Beast of Nurgle lavished my Lord of Pain in a sloppy hug, and given slimy kisses while attacking with his filthy claws and slobbering more. Oh yeah, okay. You build these people up, weekend, and then you just make them really creepy or annoying afterwards. Another hard defeat, but all in all, an enjoyable experience. Fast forward to next week. I get to play against someone I haven't before. We'll call him Leon. I changed the name once again for privacy reasons. He brought with him the same list as the manager brought, although with a different loadout on his Chaos Warriors. The manager's ones had swords and shields, and his had two-handed weapons. I had since switched my list around a bit, swapping out the slick blades in favour of taking a shard speaker, since I was in dire need of a wizard, and some slangors as it was the only thing that would fit within the points limit. I explained to Leon that I was sort of new to 3rd edition, Age of Sigmar, but had started to get the hang of it. I rolled for the mission, and he mentioned how big an advantage he'd have if if he chose to be the defender, after you've chosen your mission. Which, looking back, is kind of a red flag for what's coming up later. We roll off to decide deployment, and he wins, and he chooses to defend, unsurprisingly. As the attacker in this mission, I had to split my forces in half, putting half into reinforcements. Oh god, I hate missions like that. And all the defender would need to do to win was take out the units that weren't put in reinforcements. Having quite a small and fragile army, this meant that he only had to take out a handful of easy-to-kill units, made worse by me having to deploy in the centre of the board while he gets to deploy anywhere on the field. Christ, against all odds, the game actually went for a lot longer than a couple of rounds, with my attacks not doing much, but I was rarely failing saves. After turn 3 concluded, Leon was going to concede. However, I said we still had a half hour before our time was up, so we may as well play the rest out. Finally, my Lord of Pain, who had been holding on to his 5+ ward, lost his final wound, and Leon was able to claim victory. I shook his hand for a game well played. I noticed he was gloating a bit, but wrote it off as just excitement from winning the game. And later that week, I booked myself in for a rematch against him. Yeah, this guy seems like a prick. Just going to come out and say it, this guy seems like a bit of a prick. Yeah, he wants to concede halfway through the game that he's probably going to win. He's either somebody who doesn't know the rules very well, or he's somebody who can't take losing a few models and starts to throw his dummy out the plan. And as soon as anything goes for him, he starts to gloat. Yeah, I'm not as big as fan so far. The next week rolls around, and we get ready to play. I roll out the mission, and it's not great. Either way, I have a big disadvantage wherever side I take. If I attack in this mission, I have to defend to get to the other side of the board through his whole army and extract my units. If I defend, I have to have a fairly squishy unit, hold the line for 5 turns, and stop his army from bulldozing through mine. He wins the roll and often chooses to defend. This irks me once more, because once again he's setting himself up for the biggest advantage, even though he knows my army is not as strong as his. In brackets, in Path to Glory missions, only the defender gets to place their faction terrain, and my faction terrain helps me summon my demons, whilst he doesn't even have one, so not getting it puts me at yet another disadvantage. First turn, I decide I only really have one option. I try to move up as far into the other side of the board as I can get. My archers manage to plink a wound off of a Chaos Warrior, but overall, little is accomplished. Then in his turn, closing in from both sides of the board, his units slam into mine like a tidal wave. After a particularly disastrous combat phase, I lose half my units on the first turn. We roll off at the start of the second round, and Leon wins it, choosing to take the first turn even though he doesn't really need it. Adding insult to injury, he decides to bring in his Marauder Horsemen, so even in the incredibly unlikely event I manage to claw through some of his units, he has a second wave to put me down. He proceeds to mop up the rest of my army in the following combat phase, leaving me with only my Shard Speaker with a single wound left. Having barely enough points, I attempt to summon some Seekers, however, he positioned his Chaos Knights in such a way that it made it impossible to actually bring them in summoning range. Although he claimed this was not his intention, he still would not let me summon anything in. Yeah, of course, yeah, what a prick. Realising that with still 3 turns left and any chance of victory was gone, I decided to concede the game. Throughout the game, I tried to put on a brave face and not show that I wasn't having the best of times. By the end, I was exhausted, and I think he could tell it had not been an enjoyable experience for me. As I put away my models without saying anything, he stood there awkwardly with his hand out until I noticed. Even though I didn't really want to, I shook his hand and said something like along the lines of, "Yeah, I think Slaanesh just kinda sucks right now." He then proceeded to regale me about what an epic win for Khorne that was. Dude, this guy's a fucking tosser. He's a tosser. I finished packing my models away and then left the store feeling kinda defeated. Yeah, I mean, deflated. Yeah, when you come across players like this, man, this is why if you want a power game and you're a tournament player or you're obsessed with winning, this is why the hobby is about picking your opponents rather than the army that you're playing. Picking your opponents more important. If I were you, Weekend, I wouldn't do events because it exposes you to people like this. This is why I don't do events a lot of the time, because most of the people that play in them are people like this, right? Don't get me wrong. I'm sure if you're not that guy, then sure, you're not that guy. Awesome, very happy about that. But every event I've played in, if I've had 6 games in an event, at least 4 of them have been like this. You know, just try hards. Yeah, and you just feel exhausted by the end of it. Even if you win, you're just like, great. You know, I just want to go home. I'm done. Right? You know, I just want to go home, go to bed. I've had enough. Right? And personally, I just think it kind of ruins the game. Look, you play the game in whatever way you want, and this is why I'm saying, even this guy who's being a prick to you, he doesn't deserve not to be in the hobby, right? He should be in the hobby. He should just play with people who are going to power game him straight back, essentially. And playing a guy like you is just there for fun. Yeah, it's only going to end one way, I'm afraid. But anyway. Weekend says, this is what brings me around to what I would appreciate some advice on. As honestly, this experience has really killed any enthusiasm I had for continuing in the store campaign. A couple of losses at the beginning was understandable, with getting a hand of the game. But having gone week after week now, being beaten down 1 to 5, it kind of just feels pointless to continue. Since I don't want to turn up just after being their gimp that they can pull an easy victory on. I've tried structuring my army in every different way, but I can, but it just doesn't make a difference. And my victory over the Nighthorn feels a little more like a fluke than anything else. It just feels like being at an immediate disadvantage is something I could cope with, but being shown no quarter by my opponent makes playing just feel like a waste of time. So I guess my question is, should I quit and wait out the rest of the campaign, or am I just being a bitch and should just suck it up and keep going? Also, thanks for reading, and hope all goes well with the Astral Blades. Thanks, Captain Weekend. So, yeah, half of my advice has already come out when I've said, look, you know, maybe until the new battle tome comes out for Slaanesh, I think you should probably take a step back. It's not worth the stress, my friend. Hobbies, I don't give a shit. Well, there'll be people in the comments moaning, saying, no, people can play the game whenever they want, and he should just man up and get on with it. This hobby isn't about stress. And if you're getting stressed, just leave. Just do something else, right? And what I mean by that is, I don't mean drop the hobby. What I mean is, either wait out the campaign, or start a new army, or do something else. You know? Do a bit of 40k. Just dabble in something else during the hobby. Or play friendly games. Say, look, I'm here to play friendly games. And if somebody asks you why, say, look, you guys are playing in the campaign. You play for blood because you want to win the campaign. My army is very weak right now, as you all know, and I don't want to be the punching bag. So, as I learn the army, I'd like to just play friendly games, and that's what I'm going to do. So, whichever one of you isn't playing a campaign game at that moment, I'd love to play. But I'd like it to be like a fluffy narrative, you know. That's the kind of game I want to play. And if no one wants to play you, fine. Go and find another group that will. But I'm telling you now, there'll be somebody there going, yeah, I'll fucking do that. You know, there'll be tons of people there who want to do that. Every hobby store has them. You know, you'll probably find there are people not playing in that campaign for that very reason, who bring armies to the store and then just don't play with them because, you know, they're not trying to steal wins or get blood out of a stone with their lists, right? So, the hobby is mainly about finding your opponent rather than playing the army that you've got. It's about finding a good opponent that you're going to enjoy the game with. And if that's not happening in the campaign, then you need to take a step back and do something else that you want to do. It is what it is. At least until Slaanesh get their much-awaited buff. When that happens, phenomenal. You know, that'd be really, really nice. They can rejoin, and you're at the level of everyone else. No one's going to have a go at you for having a battle tome that's nearly a full edition behind, and being like, look, guys, you know my army isn't as good as yours right now. I don't want to be the punching bag, but I do want to practice, so here's where I am. Honesty is the best policy, my friend. And if you don't want to do that because you'll have people there being like, well, I beat him and now he doesn't want to play, then fuck that person and tell them to their face. Down to the face, just like, look, we're playing with toy soldiers. Is this what you're basing your, like, you know, your self-esteem on or something? Like, what's wrong with you? You know, I just don't want to waste my time. I don't want to come away from here feeling deflated and that I've wasted my time every week. I want to have fun. That's what a hobby is, you know. If you want to spoil that for other people, go ahead. But yeah, the people that you've mentioned here, especially with the gloating and stuff, as soon as somebody gloats with me, they're on the no list from now on, and I tell them that as well. If you gloat with me, you're like, oh, yeah, well, I was playing Corn, and when we just smashed you, we did this and we did that, and next time you want to do this and you want to do that, and blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, mate, you know what? The way you acted through that entire game, I didn't enjoy that last game, so the last person I want advice from is you. So, you know, shave the neck beard, get a wash, get the fuck out of my face. Just you know. I sound really bad. I've never had an argument in 40k since I've left Games Workshop. Not once. Not even. The last argument I had was having a dice thrown at me at Games Workshop. That was it. You know, and that wasn't even me. That was just like, I won a game and somebody threw a dice at me, right? Just is what it is. But, yeah, I'm not the kind of guy who has arguments over a game of Warhammer. But that's how I would react if I was in that situation. Because I just don't have the... To be honest with you, I don't have the cool head that other people have. I just get very easily annoyed by shit like that. And there's nothing I hate more than passive aggressiveness. I just can't stand it. I cannot stand it. You know, people hiding behind social norms to insult you and, you know, wind you up or try and get one over on you. I just don't accept it. And you know what? When it's ever happened to me before, this is years ago, last time it happened was in university, whenever I've had to, like, lose it with somebody, they've never done it again. With anyone else. I've noticed they play the game and they're good as gold after that. As soon as they get a slap, not physically, but, like, verbally, they don't do it again. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're like, oh, okay, well, you know. Especially if other people are agreeing with you, you know. Not advocating that all the time, just, you know, when somebody pushes it a bit too far. But anyway, moving on. Karamari says, let me just take a drink of water before I go any further, because that rant's got me a bit parched. Karamari says, hello, Mr. Exile. Hello. I have a story for your YouTube channel, and was also hoping for your opinion on a situation that happened a while back. Okay, this sounds tasty. For a little bit of background first, I've been married for a little bit now. Marrying another I've dated for years. Oh, brilliant. Congratulations. When we first became an item, we had a running joke and occasional argument that other women in local game stores or anime conventions were a little too friendly with me. Oh, yeah. Yep. You know you're with a strong woman when that happens, and she just takes the piss. I've been very lucky, because I've since I've been going to, like, hobby stores and stuff, I've had 2 long-term relationships, and both of them thought it was hilarious when I don't know when I'm being flirted with, and I think you're having the same issue. Like, I'm oblivious. If I'm playing Warhammer or I'm doing anything, I don't know what's going on. I'm just like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, roll your saves. Put your tits away. Roll your saves. You know, and that's just, you know, yeah. So yeah, they would always be like, you're gonna go down there with all the female neckbeards now and, like, forget about me. It's like, fucking shut up. You're beautiful. Shut up. Anyway. So it sounds like you're having a very similar issue, which is, you know, it's good, but at the same time, you know you're with a strong woman when she just, like, yeah, she just laughs. Same with the guys too, I assume. I'm sure lady hobbyists would be able to tell me whether it's the same the other way around as well. But I've never had any jealous issues with girlfriends when I've gone to hobby stores. When this issue first came up, I thought it was just unhealthy jealousy, because no one was flirting with me when I was single. I promise you that. Yeah, that does happen. I think ladies have a sixth sense for shit like that. Not all of them, but I think all of them have the sense, but not all of them act on it. Like, the amount of times when I was in university or working at GW, wherever I was, where if I was single, no one's interested. They can almost smell the loneliness on you. As soon as you're not single, all of a sudden, what do you mean I can't have you? Well, I want you now. So that's, you know, that's normally how it goes. And you need to stay away from those people, because those people are fucking toxic as shit. This is why I'm saying everybody has those feelings, just not that many people act on them. And the ones who do, run away, go, leave. Anyway. However, over time, even my dumb self noticed it, as in the flirting. If I had to associate anything with it, I think it's just because I genuinely enjoy vibing with strangers about any said hobby without any strings attached. Yeah, that... Okay, so, let me just pull this back. We had a really good bit of advice given the other night. I'm going to actually call this person out because they did a really good job of talking about... Okay, no, I can't remember. Okay, fair enough. So yeah, we had a really good bit of advice about how to approach women in gaming stores and shit like that, or how not to do it, you know. And what they said is literally what you've just said here. So, Karamari, you say, if I had to associate anything to it, the flirting, I think it's just because I genuinely enjoy vibing with strangers about any said hobby without any strings attached. Now, if you're somewhat of a good-looking dude and you're normal and you just have a laugh and you do what you just said there, ladies are going to be naturally drawn to you because you're not showing any interest in them. You're genuinely just enjoying the hobby and you're wanting them to enjoy it too. And you're not like trying to put it on them or trying to worm your way in there. There's no ulterior motive. And people find that very alluring and very attractive, right? Because that you don't need them. That's the whole point. You don't need them. The very way, and I've said this before to people on the channel, if you want to approach a woman in public or if you're in a bar or whatever, make sure you're having a good time with your friends first, right? Make sure your friends are happy to be around you first. Make sure you're happy in the space that you're in, and you're happy in your own skin, and you're happy being there with your friends, because that's only going to make you more attractive. And then, only then, if you're getting interest from other people, say, yeah, but always have that issue in your head of, you are on my time now. This is my night out with my friends. I'm not here to please you. I'm not buying you any drinks, right? I'm here with my friends. You want to join us? No problem. No problem. We're always after more friends. Great. And if we're into the same stuff, then let's discuss it. Treat them like blokes, my friend. Just treat them like blokes, even if they're being dicks. Don't hit them, obviously, but just treat them like blokes. Go fuck off. Don't simp for them. I've got mates who do that. It reminds me of, like, you'll be a woman, an attractive woman in the group, who's, even if they're friends with us, if they're being a twat, they'll just accept it and defend them. It's like, no, don't defend them. She's being a twat. Tell her to fuck off. We're having a pint, right? That's exactly what you're supposed to do. Just treat people as, treat them normally. Which is what Karamari looks like he's doing here, which is why he's going to having a bit of an issue with flirting in the hobby store. So now you know the ongoing theme. Here is the incident that happened. I was with some friends at an old game store I used to go to often before we moved. This was one of the rare times my wife was not there with me, as she usually comes in to play or hang out too. There was a semi-frequent chick that used to come by. Let's call her Brittany. I've never had a problem with Brittany. Brittany. She's always been chatty with me. Well, this particular day, Brittany was really chatty and friendly. I tried doing the chick thing when she would bring up going to grab something to eat after our games. I'd bring up my wife. Yeah, good lad. Yeah. That didn't stop chatty Brittany though. So eventually, maybe being too direct, I told her to chill out because I'm married now and it's not going to go anywhere outside the store with her. Okay, cool. This became a huge issue, and chatty Brittany became angry. She became lecturing Brittany. At some point of her defensive response, she started going on about polyamorous relationships or something, and how I was insensitive for being taken aback about cheating. Fuck this woman, man. Do you know what? I was on her side for a minute there. I was seriously, because it's a natural thing to get defensive. Like, if somebody says to you, look, I'm not interested, I'm not going anywhere with you, I'm married. If you're just trying to be friendly with that person, trying to be friends with that person, I can understand why you would get a little bit defensive. Do you know what I mean? But to then bring up polyamorous relationships and say that this person's insensitive for not to... No, fuck off. Get in the bin. Anyway, I'm probably not doing her argument justice because it all sounded like nonsense to me. So at this point I got angry because cheating is a huge thing I'm against, and I responded with something completely not okay. It was along the lines of, look, I don't know why you saw this blonde hair and blue eyes and thought acceptance, but I don't care what the fuck you're into. Don't talk to me again. Okay. You are a bit of a sassy motherfucker, you, aren't you? Jesus Christ. Were you clicking your fingers at the same time? To be clear, I'm an accepting dude. I'm not in any way what I was insinuating, but it was the worst thing I could think of saying to get her to go away. And it worked. She definitely didn't have a comeback for that. I think she mouthed some insult and walked off. Never saw Brittany after that. I'm curious if I was wrong for this poly thing. Was I being insensitive about not wanting to cheat? I just can't talk about this with my wife because she has a very rule about not hearing stories about other girls when she's not around. She trusts me completely now, and as she should, because you acted in a very, very responsible way. And that I'll never do anything with anyone else. These stories just piss her off. Yeah, man, that's completely fine as well. Okay, so... So, let's have a little look here. Okay, so, I would say you did an incredible job of handling this situation. An incredible job of handling it. I think you may have said something a little bit insensitive to this person, but to be honest with you, man, like, what the fuck are you supposed to do? Like, people need to understand. Okay, so I had a friend of mine in university. Michael, I'm not talking about you before you chime in. Who was gay. And let's just say he got the wrong impression about me being nice to him. And started to say flirty comments, things like that I didn't actually get. I didn't actually understand that they were flirty comments, you know? Because he wasn't a stereotypical gay person. He's not like... he's not a feminist in any way whatsoever. He's like, in fact, he's more manly than I am, to be quite frank. And eventually, he did make a pass at me. And, you know, we were in a club, and he just put his arm around me and then kissed me on the cheek. And I said, no, man, listen, I'm not into that. You know, I'm not gay, like, at all. And he was like, no problem, man. Let's just be friends then. And he held his hand out and I shook it and said, yeah, man, let's go get a drink. So we went to the bar and we started talking about relationships and shit and how he was struggling to find somebody. And, like, you know, I agreed to bring a few friends along to the gay night at a place called Osborne's. And eventually he ended up finding somebody. He actually ended up, finding a boyfriend. And I think they're still together. I'm not really sure. But anyway, that was the way he handled it was the way you should handle it. I'm not infringing on his rights by not being gay. Do you know what I mean? And now if he's tried it on again and again and again, I would be completely within my right to say, look, man, I'm not fucking gay. Right? Get it through your head. You're giving, this is... The one thing that gay friends of mine hate is the reputation that gay blokes have for being promiscuous and not taking no for an answer. And if somebody did that to me, I'd bring that up and say, look, this is why you have a rep. This is why. You don't take no for an answer, fucking clear off and leave me alone, right? After a while. The same thing would go for a woman if they were in a polyamorous state and they wanted to come over to me and, like, talk to me and shit like that. After a while, you're like, no, go away. And at the end of the day, I'm not being intolerant by not by not doing what you want to do, right? Because you're polyamorous, me not being polyamorous doesn't mean I'm anti you. Clear out. Go away, right? Go away. Off you go. So listen, man. I think you did an absolutely fine job there. I have to apologise. I've only just seen the very bottom of your message here, so I apologise for that. You'll know what I mean because you wrote the thing. But yeah, at the end of the day, I doubt anyone's gonna. I have 7,000 subs, man. You're gonna be just fine. But I will message you after this and make sure it's all okay. So in terms of your conduct, I think you did an absolutely fine job of it. You did really, really, really well. And Yeah, nothing against you, man. I think you did exactly what you should do, and it just is what it is. So, next we have 99 Porkins. He says, "Hi North. Not so much a hobby nightmare for you today, but more found myself in a bizarre hobby situation and thought I might crack a smile, if nothing else." Alright, let's have a look. He says, "So, I'm one of the many on this server who grew up rolling dice and moving models to the tune pronounced blood-soaked screams of 40k. Only to leave the hobby for a number of years before returning during our recent innings with Nurgle's Rot. Sadly, my passion for 40k still hasn't returned to the levels of my teenage years, with my pile of Tau and Imperial Guard still begging me to paint them, to pay them some love with a paintbrush. I have fallen hard and fast for Age of Sigmar, however, with 5 official armies at various stages of production, as well as 2 3D printed armies for the same system. I'm lucky enough to have a supporting partner who now has her own family with the aim of learning to play alongside me in the future. And don't you worry, I've already put a ring on her finger. Good lad, good lad. My current project is Fire Slayers, Naked Dwarves, and I'm slowly building a healthy collection of angry fire dwarves that I'm hoping to use for my first ever entry to Armies on Parade later this year. I'm not a competition level painter, by any stretch of the imagination, but getting involved has given me a healthy dose of motivation to get the army done, so I'm running with the ball whilst I have it. Good lad. So to set the scene, I travel a lot for work. With many stints in hotels, I always carry between 10 to 15 models in a Tupperware box with a handful of paints and brushes to keep myself occupied during many stays in various hotels. That, at least, for me, is a good reason to avoid daylight robbery with hotel bar prices. Yeah, they are ridiculous. The only time I've ever done a hotel bar was on Games Workshop's money, so... Which is your money, I suppose. But anyway, moving on. Today, I've finally finished a week-long stint of work, and I'm on my way back to my family home in Manchester, travelling through Dublin International Airport. I've been through the normal rigmarole of airport security and the occasional odd look because my liquids bag seems to contain nothing but a stack of Citadel paints. Toiletries are in the checkered bag. I may be overweight, but I'm not that kind of hobby neckbeard, I promise. Okay. While I get through security and to the device, and I know where this is going, while I get through security and to the departure board 3 hours before my scheduled departure, as with current security chaos, I don't arrive any later. And lo and behold, Ryanair have presented a lovely gift of Zinch, a further hour flight delay. So, what's a man to do? 4 hours wait and no lounge access? Well, I did what any good hobbyist should. I walk through the terminal, find a quiet spot by the gate that isn't used very much, top up a small box with some water from the fountain, and get down to some quality hobby time. Nothing too major, just some extra base coating and washes to my current production line of Volkite Berserkers. About an hour goes by, and some very puzzled looking staff walk past wondering if what I'm doing is allowed, but ultimately seem to decide I'm not affecting anyone, so they just leave me to it. It dawned on me, about an hour in, how odd this must look to any passers-by, and had a little chuckle to myself at the pure depths I'm willing to go to for this hobby I love so much. I hope it's done the same for you. Thanks for all the channel content. I'm finally about to go out and grab my flight, but I'll leave you with the question. What's the weirdest thing you've ever found yourself enjoying about the hobby? What's the weirdest thing I've ever found myself enjoying about the hobby? The deputy head of retail for Britain in a hotel. No, I'm only kidding. I'm not, but like, I'm taking a step back from that. Weirdest setting. Weirdest setting. What's the weirdest setting you've ever found yourself enjoying the hobby? Okay, right. Now, I've reread that. That's fine. What's the weirdest setting in which I found myself enjoying the hobby? So, normally, the weirdest setting I've actually done the hobby in was actually somebody's house. Because I just started seeing somebody and they didn't know that I was into Warhammer. So I was staying with her for 3 days over a weekend. Yeah, I think it was. We were doing a retail workshop and I had some hobby in my bag. Because I didn't want to stay at the hotel because they were doing my head in. So I got up out of bed And because she went to sleep a lot earlier than I did, so I got up out of bed and I just started painting these little models in the front room. Obviously, you know, nowhere near spilling anything, everything's closed and all that. And she comes in, and I've never seen like a look of disappointment in a woman's face like that before. Just like a, oh God, you're one of those. I was like, yeah, I'm one of those. So, yeah, that's probably the most ridiculous thing I've ever done in terms of the hobby. Anyway, so Zaldor's not grimdark. This will be our last one of the day, because we're on 50 minutes, my God. Hello there, Exile. This is quite a special horror story in a way you won't expect. And to be honest, I need your advice for what to make of it. First of all, I'm 15 and started this hobby around 2 years ago. I'm your typical nerd with fewer pimples and good self-esteem. Good lad. And so when hanging around in roleplay forums, I stumbled upon 40k lore in a Star Wars forum. Well, I'm sure that went down well. A few months ahead, I get into the hobby and try to introduce my pretty much only friend to Warhammer. The game that is. I'll just call him Jack. Jack isn't as geeky as me, quiet and down to earth. We get along really well together, mostly because we don't fit into any other group that well. After explaining the rules to him and getting to play a game, he really seems to like it, and so I finally get him to choose an army for himself. He was like, oh, what are these mechs? They look really cool. And soon, Space Marines and Tau were duking it out on the floor of one of our rooms. We got really into it, and although Jack didn't like painting or getting into the lore, I think he noticed how passionate I was and just played along. Ah, what a good friend. That's really cool. We eventually built a gaming board to rain out of isolation foam and even a giant fortress, but as time went on, we played less and less, and it seemed to me as if he is done with it. I offered to paint his army for him, he agreed, and although we tell each other that we need to play again, we just don't. And we haven't for around 2 to 3 months. I really don't know what to do to get him into 40k again, or even if he wants to. I am still really passionate, and before you ask, money isn't the problem for either of us. My nearest GW store is about a 20-minute drive away from where I live, but the staff aren't that nice and don't seem to have a gaming table to play. I mean, even their Facebook page doesn't have a single post. Oh, Jesus. So my only real chance to play is with my friend. And like I said, he doesn't seem to have the same enthusiasm as I do. Can you give your thoughts on my situation? Alright, I certainly can do, after I've had a drink of water. First of all, I hope you're on the Discord. If you're not on the Discord, you know what I'm going to say. Get on the Discord, get on the Game Finder, and ask people where and when they want to play some hobby with you. And there'll be somebody, trust me. If you're 15, be very, very, very careful about giving your personal information away online. So maybe test the water a bit first and see who's around. See if anyone knows of any clubs or hubs around your local area without mentioning yourself, right? And then just turn up to the club and see if you like the people who are there and if you like playing with them. I know it's a bit of a... How do I say it? It's a bit daunting going into a new setting, but the main thing to do is to get out there and try it. You're 15 now. You know, you'll be finishing school soon, then it'll be university. Once you're at university, you'll be playing games every weekend, dude. Trust me. Like you'll play too much Warhammer, you'll get sick of it. But yeah, for me, you're doing just fine. I think your friend did really well getting you into the hobby like that and being with you as you were getting into the hobby. Best thing for you to do is go on the Game Finder. Tell people where you're from, not your age or anything like that. Just tell people where you're from and tell people that you're looking for a game club. Right? Do not meet up with anyone online because you're 15. So don't do that. But definitely go and get some news on what gaming clubs are around. And if no one knows anything about your local area, then go online and Google. Have a look around and see what there is. I can tell you if you're in the Northwest, I can give you like 7 or 8 off the top of my head where you could go to. So that's the best way to address the situation right now. And I'm the same as you, by the way. I only get to play once every month or two. You know, I'll play 1 or 2... Well, I'll play 1 game a month, basically, of Warhammer. Which sucks. I wish I could play more. But I'm far more into the modelling and painting and lore aspect than I am the playing aspect. As you probably figured out by how my channel is. I'm no Warspec Tactics, you know, to say the least. So, yeah. I got involved in that other part of the hobby, and that solved a lot of the loneliness issues about the game for me. Now I I have this channel and I can talk to people about it, and I've got Discord and things like that. So I'd use the Discord, man. Use the Discord, but just be very careful considering your age. Don't agree to meet up with anybody, you know. I know full well that a lot of people on my Discord are really, really cool, but that doesn't mean that people on the internet always have your best interests at heart. So be very careful. Always keep people at arm's distance when you're that age, and make sure that you're looking for groups of people, not meeting people for games on your own. All right? All right. So that is Hobby Nightmares for the day. I love you all a long time, and here are some more Astral backers for you. Aren't they beautiful? Look at their lovely names. I am running out of space, though, so I need to make sure that I remake this once a month, perhaps. But, yeah, thank you very, very, very much for watching. If you like what I do, please support the channel on the Patreon down below. It's in the description. Or become a member of the channel. And if you can't do either of those things, just like the video and subscribe, because that really, really helps the channel a lot. I love seeing the numbers go up and making sure that the channel is growing. We had a bit of a stagnating month this month, but it really is amazing that when I ask for it, it's been happening. You know, I don't hang my hat on Patreon. I don't hang my hat on channel memberships, because that's the wrong thing to do. I don't e-beg. I don't tend to do shit like that. But in terms of, you know, a subscribe, please do that, because it really does give me a shot in the arm and really helps me out. And, you know, if you really want to help the channel even more than that, then head on over to Composite Games, and they'll be happy to help you out with any of your hobby needs. You'll get up to 25% off if you use the promo code Northern Exile down below. 25%, that's half of the GW staff discount. Can't say fairer than that. Anyway, love you all a long time, and I'll see you on Friday. Have a good one.